Hello friends, Robin here from Cheese from Scratch, and happy 2025. I can't believe it's 2025, that's crazy. Anyways, we have had a really nice winter break, but the kids go back to school tomorrow. And so I'm just spending the day kind of doing a pantry restock day. In January, I loosely follow Three Rivers Homestead's pantry challenge. So I try not to go to the grocery store as much as possible. I have some kind of rules that I break there. For example, I make sure that I've got some apples and oranges kind of in the fridge because those are the easiest things to pack in my kids' lunches for snacks. I make sure that I don't go too low down on my ingredient stores like flour. I make sure that I always have enough flour for in case I can't get it for some reason. Like there was one year where there was these really bad floods and no groceries were coming into our small town for a while. So I like to make sure that I have, some stores just in case of emergency, but I really try to spend January just getting to the back of my pantry, using things that I might not otherwise use, and so that kind of drives my Sunday regular meal prep day, I guess. Or however you're going to say that. On Sundays, I usually get ready for the week, make some muffins and stuff for the kids' lunches, make sure that I've got yogurt and cream cheese and just kind of regular dairy products stocked in the fridge. So today I'm planning on doing yogurt, cream cheese, sour cream, maybe some cheese whiz, homemade cheese whiz. So all of those things I'm going to do in today's meal prep video. And this is just going to show you guys kind of what my Sunday meal prep looks like when I'm trying to do the pantry challenge. So I've got a plan for today. My plan is that I will, like I said, do yogurt, sour cream, cream cheese, muffins, maybe do some bagels, we'll see if I run out of time, cheese whiz, and make some more granola. So those are going to be my things that are going to kind of set me up for my week. I'm not so much like a meal planner. Like I don't set my week out for what meals I'm actually going to eat. So I like to keep things in my fridge stocked that just work with the meals that we usually eat. For example, we always have tacos at least once a week, so I always have sour cream in the fridge. So those, having the things in my fridge that I need to make the meals that I make the most often really helps me set up for the week. So without further talking, let's get started. I'm going to start with some yogurt. So I've got my fresh milk here from this morning's milking. Just got it covered here because we do have a wood stove and ash just gets everywhere. So milking 2 cows right now. So I've got lots and lots of milk. I like to make, this is a really weird quantity, but I like to make 3 quarts of yogurt a week. And the reason that I do that is because I make it in my Instant Pot. You can make yogurt wherever. You really need barely any equipment to make yogurt at all, a thermometer maybe. But I like to make it in my Instant Pot, and it will only fit 3 quart jars when we get to the ferment part. And I'll show you that as we go along. So that's why I like to make that really strange quantity. Just use a quart jar for measuring. I feel like this is going to be messy. All right, so there's my 3 quarts of milk. I'm going to take it over here. Make sure the vent is open. Press yogurt, boil, and so that's going to heat up now at the boil setting. If you don't have an Instant Pot and you're making yogurt on the stove, all you're going to do is heat it up to about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and then there's a whole other process to cooling down the stuff, but I will show you that in a minute. All right, now I'm going to make my cream cheese. I'm actually going to make a quark today. Just because that is a very simple cheese, and I also have to feed my clabber culture. So I'm going to use this jar here, since I already got it going, for my clabber culture. I'll just make about that much. Here's my clabber. So sometimes for making cream cheese, I will just make a clabber cream cheese. So I'll literally just feed my clabber culture into a big jar of milk. Like I'll make like a quart jar or a gallon jar of milk into clabber, and then the next day I'll strain that off into cream cheese. But I actually want to strain my cream cheese tonight so that it's ready to go for tomorrow. So that's why I'm going to make quark. It has a little bit of rennet in it, and so you're going to have it just set up a lot quicker. So I can actually strain it tonight. Okay, so that's my clabber culture fed. If you don't know about clabber culture, it is the bee's knees. It makes everything in dairy so much more easy, and it also just saves you like tons and tons of money. So I feed my clabber culture every single day. Looks like this, sits on the counter, and the next day it looks like this. Tastes nice and mild. I use it as a cheese making starter culture. Use it, just eat it as a replacement for yogurt. Use it in baking, so many different things, but just irreplaceable if you have access to raw milk. All right, so that's been fed. Now I'm going to make my quark cream cheese here. All right, because this milk is still warm from the udder, sort of, warm-ish from the udder, I'm actually I don't even have to heat it. So I'm just gonna throw her into this jar here. And I like to use a jar because it is easy for measuring. Now that I know that it's pretty much a gallon of milk in there, so that makes it easy. I know that if I'm using a gallon of milk, I need to be using a 1/4 cup of clabber culture. And to make it so you don't have any clumps or anything, I like to just take some of the milk and take your clabber culture. It's okay if you get the fat on top, like you can see there's like a cream cheese line on top, or a sour cream line on top. It's okay if you get that. Better to get the clabber underneath. Doesn't really matter though. All right, so you got your 1/4 cup of clabber in there. It's gonna take a whisk. Whisk that up really good, and that's gonna keep you from getting any lumps in your clabber. If you just added your clabber, any lumps in your cream cheese. If you just added your clabber right into your quark cream cheese here, it would work. It wouldn't be too bad, but you might end up with a few lumps. So this just helps make a smoother product, and I can go ahead and add that back in there. Little stir. I should use a longer spoon so I can actually get to the bottom, but we'll deal with that in a second. And then we're gonna get our rennet. So I got a big old bottle of rennet. If you watch one of my YouTube videos where I spilled my rennet, this is what I ordered afterwards, so I better not spill this. All right, so I'm using double strength calf rennet today. I really only need like a couple drops of rennet into this quark here. Right, so I'm just taking some lukewarm water. Very small amount of this rennet. I'm only using a 1/4 teaspoon-ish. As you can see, I just dropped some. This time, so I don't spill my rennet all over myself. It smells like fish if you spill it on yourself. I'm putting the cap on. And then I'm gonna get a spoon. Nice big long spoon. Throw that in there. Mix to the bottom. So this is going to become quark. Alright, and all I'm going to do is just put this lid on top like that, just loosely, not screwing it on, just loosely on top like that. And I'm just going to set this to the side. I have a full tutorial on how to make quark, so you can see how I strain it off and everything. But yeah, that's going to sit till tonight. Tonight I'm going to strain it off, but that's set over there for now. All right, the next thing I want to do is my sour cream. So I'm just going to grab some milk that has already cream lined out of the fridge here. Right, so you can see that little cream line there. And so we're just going to scoop some of this into a jar. So we're just going to skim this cream here. So I just use a little scoop. Scoop that off. We're only taking the heaviest cream. So when you start to see kind of swirls of milk, that's when you're gonna stop. So for sour cream, really important only to have the heaviest cream. Kind of like if you're skimming for whipped cream. You know, it's not gonna work as well if you have that. It's not gonna be as creamy if you have that milk in there. So because I'm calf sharing right now, I have these puny little cream lines. I'm gonna have to go get another jar of cream here to finish off this sour cream. All right, that's good enough. That's enough sour cream for us for now. So all I'm gonna do to culture the sour cream is I'm gonna take this clabber culture that I've got, and I'm gonna take about a tablespoon of culture here, just throw her into there and mix her up. So this will be nice thick sour cream tomorrow. Yeah, we're sitting at 11:30, so probably about tomorrow this will be nice and thick and good and ready. If I make this earlier in the morning, I check it at night because cream ferments a lot quicker than milk. So you can sometimes end up with over fermented sour cream if you don't check it earlier enough. So I'm gonna put that on there and just get a hair tie. There we go. So that's going to sit on the counter until tomorrow, and then it would be nice thick sour cream and can move to the fridge. All right, so I've got sour cream done, cream cheese done. I said that I was going to do some cheese whiz. So I think I will do that out of the skim milk here. And I like to make cheese whiz probably about once a week, just so that we have it in the fridge, because my daughter really likes to put it into scrambled eggs. It's also really good on toast and stuff, so it's just a really simple snack for the kids. Okay, so that's about a gallon in there, maybe a little more. So I'm just heating my milk up here to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Got my thermometer tucked into my pasta spoon here, just coming back and stirring it every once in a while. And while that's heating up, I'm just going to clean up my kitchen a little bit. And this is the last dairy processing thing other than culturing and fermenting my yogurt that I'm going to have to do for now. So yeah, I can just kind of clean this up and then start working on the muffins and granola and that kind of baking stuff. So I like to kind of get the dairy out of the way, especially if I'm going to start using any sort of yeast stuff. Technically, they say that you can actually cross-contaminate between store-bought yeast and cheese. You can cross-contaminate between sourdough and cheese, so I try definitely not to do sourdough at the same time, and I still try to not do yeasted breads, even store-bought yeast, at the same time as I'm doing cheese, just to limit the chances of any sort of contamination. So I'm going to clean this all up, and then I will start working on those baked goods that I'm planning on doing for today. All right, so we're getting a little bit closer here to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm just going to be taking some citric acid and adding it into some water to dilute it here. So because I have a gallon of milk in that pot, I'm going to be taking 2 teaspoons of citric acid. 1 and 2. Dissolving that up, and so that's all ready for when that pot there reaches 140. And my yogurt just beeped, so it has finished heating here. So it goes onto a yogurt little icon there. So what I do when it actually has finished heating is I take the lid off. And so this is going to help it to cool more rapidly. And I also usually find a whisk and give it a little whisk. I've got a tiny whisk here. So give it a little whisk. You can even remove it from here, and I'll put it in a cool spot in the house, and it's going to cool down a lot quicker. So what we're aiming for here is between about 110 degrees Fahrenheit for this yogurt to cool right down. So I'm going to set it beside the window because we live in a very old farmhouse and it's cool by the window. So I'm going to throw it over there. It's going to cool down a lot quicker. Sometimes I'll even put it in the sink in like a cold water bath and it will cool down so quickly. So that's another really good tip if you want to just kind of get it done, because that's the problem with it, is just kind of waiting around for it to cool down. Alright, so we have reached 140 degrees Fahrenheit here, so I'm just going to pull my thermometer out, give that a wash. Take my go ahead and put that right there. And so you can see the surface of the milk there. And so this is my citric acid mixture. Just going to go ahead and dump that in there. And you can see how it just almost instantly sort of starts to separate from the whey, these curds. So you can see the curds on the back of that spoon. Oops, I left the burner. So give it a good stir so that that citric acid actually gets kind of dispersed throughout the pot. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on this pot for 10 minutes or so and just let it separate a little bit more. Might need to add a tiny bit more citric acid just because this was a tiny bit bigger than 1 gallon of milk. So I might just need to add a little bit more just to see that clear separation, but I want to be careful with how much I add because you're really depending on that stringiness or that meltiness of the cheese to get the right consistency for the cheese whiz. So if you add too much accidentally, that's not going to give you the good consistency. So I'm just going to put the lid on this for 10 minutes, see what happens, and then add a little bit more if I need to. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes. There's pretty clear separation on here, so I'm not going to mess with it. Usually I like to see a little bit clearer of whey. It's still a little bit milky for me, but I'm not going to mess with it because I am really looking for this stringy, melty, not mozzarella, but almost ish. And if you put too much citric acid in there, what you can do is you can actually cause it to be grainy. So I don't want grainy cheese whiz, so I'm just going to go ahead and just take out the curds here. And you can just go ahead and strain this through a fine mesh strainer or through a cheesecloth line strainer to make sure that you're getting all the little bits. But because I just get so much milk, I just scoop out what I can, and what I can't, I throw it into the pig bucket, and they're just happy that I left them something. But if you are really trying to use all of your milk and not invest it into pigs, or you don't have pigs, you can definitely strain it to make sure you're getting every single little curd. And you can definitely add a little bit more citric acid to get a clearer whey, because this is still quite milky, but it's a little bit yellow. So you can watch my full tutorial on how to make this cheese whiz on my YouTube channel. I'll link it down below. Make sure I get all these little curds out of there. And when I think I have extracted everything, looks like that, I'm just going to let that drain for a few minutes, and I'm going to empty this pot out into the pig bucket so that I can have this pot to finish off my cheese whiz in. Alright, so I'm just going to grate a little bit of homemade Colby cheese here, because the cool thing about cheese whiz is it takes your homemade cheeses a lot further, because you're using a fresh cheese as a base and a aged cheese as a flavor enhancer. So it's kind of a homemade processed cheese basically, but yeah, it's just going to have the flavor of your good homemade cheese but without the work of it. Alright, so I've got about a cup of this grated Colby cheese, and the first thing I'm going to do is add some butter into this pot and just melt it up so that nothing sticks to the bottom. I'm going to be adding in about 1/4 cup of butter. I love cheese whiz. So we're just going to throw that 1/4 cup of butter in there. Thereabouts. I had made garlic butter in this pan, so it's got a little, or this jar, so it's got a little bit of like garlic sort of seasonings in there, so that'll be yummy in there. So we're gonna go ahead and melt that. There we go. We've got our cup of Colby cheese here, about a 3/4 cup of milk we're going to add into there. We've got our cheese, and we're also going to add about a teaspoon of salt in there as well. Alright, so my butter's all melted here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my homemade fresh cheese here. I'm going to throw that in the pot. Then I'm going to take my salt, and I'm going to put about a teaspoon of that in there. Then I'm going to throw my Colby cheese in there as well. And I'm going to give her a little stir up. And so at first it's going to look kind of chunky and weird. Like I said, watch that tutorial, but it's going to kind of get nice and smooth here in a second. So this is what it kind of looks like right now. We're going to take our reserved, let's have that on low. We're going to take our 1/4 cup, or 3/4 cup, sorry, of reserved milk. Sometimes I add this in, sometimes I don't. Depends on the day or how thick you want your cheese. I'm going to add that in. And when it gets all nice and smooth and drippy, like sort of like cheese whiz, not lumpy anymore, that's how you know when it's done. And so mine looks really yummy right now because it's got some garlic seasonings and stuff in there from that garlic toast that I made out of the butter. So that's extra yummy. In a minute, sweet. So really nice and melty. And so when you get it to that point, ouch, hot. Just gonna take that over there. Oh, thank you. Let that go. And you're just gonna throw it into here. Let's use a spatula to get the rest of that out there. So this will thicken up a lot as it sits. It will become nice and spreadable and delicious, but it also can be used as kind of like a dipping if you wanted to put it on nachos or something right now. But yeah, it will thicken up quite a bit as it sits and cools.
Can I put it on my toast right now?
Yep. Okay, thank you. That would be helpful. Okay, bring me another toast. Lower. Okay, there you go. Ow, I burnt myself. Oh. Okay. Thank you. Okay, there you go.
No problem.
Yep.
Ooh, that looks good.
Alright, so this is going to go in the fridge. It's going to cool down. It's going to become nice and thick. The kids can eat it on toast, or they can throw it into their scrambled eggs when they're making their own breakfasts in the morning. So, yeah, it's just easy to have in the fridge. Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so while my yogurt's cooling, I'm just gonna get some granola started. I kind of loosely follow Ruth Zimmerman's granola recipe, so you can just Google it. But yeah, so that's one that I loosely follow, and it's really awesome. I kind of put what I want in it, or what I have, but I almost always put oats and Rice Krispies in it, just because we tend to like that. Right, so we're gonna go about 7 cups of oats, 3, and then same thing with Rice Krispies, 7. Then I'm going to actually omit the walnuts, just so that, because the kids can't take nuts to school. So instead I'm going to use coconut. So we're going to do 3 cups of coconut. About 1.5 cups of sugar of some sort. You can use whatever you want. And about a tablespoon of cinnamon. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and mix that together. And then we're going to melt 2 cups of fat of some sort. So Ruth Zimmerman talks about using coconut oil and butter, like 1 and 1. I like to usually just use butter, but because we're cow sharing right now and I'm conserving butter, I'm actually going to use coconut oil because I'm doing that pantry challenge and I've got a bunch of coconut oil that I could use. So that's just a good way to use it. So we're going to melt up 2 cups of that coconut oil. That is all melted here. Just going to go ahead and throw that in. Just stir that up, and now it's going to go in the oven for 2 hours at 250. I might have to pull it out a couple times here or there. Well, I'm going to stir it every 15 minutes or so, but I might have to pull it out a few times here or there just to bake my other things. So making granola kind of does take up your oven for an extended period of time, but I don't be afraid of pulling it out if I need to use the oven and then popping it back in. So get that all mixed and throw it in the oven. So we're getting pretty close to 110 degrees Fahrenheit here for our yogurt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to whisk it up a little bit. Where did I put my whisk? The tiniest whisk ever for this. Just whisk it up so that you don't have any sort of cream scum or anything on top of it. I've got some nice clean jars sitting here ready and waiting. And I've got my culture, my yogurt culture. I like to use the yogurt culture from Glengarry Cheesemaking. It's yogurt ABY 2C. Oh my goodness, this is the best yogurt culture ever. So I like to use it. And I use about a 1/4 teaspoon, a little less than a 1/4 teaspoon for this amount of milk. Usually I use a 1/4 teaspoon for a gallon. So I'll use a little bit less because we only have got 3 quarts in there today. And I just sprinkle it on the surface and I let it sit just for a minute or so just to kind of rehydrate. And then I go ahead and incorporate it in. All right, so after a minute or so, I'm just gonna go ahead and just whisk that back up in. So now this is nice warm cultured milk. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this nice warm cultured milk and I'm gonna dump it into these clean jars. I like to use wide mouth ones just because they're easiest for the kids to get the milk out of, or get the yogurt out of. That's what I mean. Alright, so 3 quarts. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash this pot out, and I just find this is the cleanest way for me to do it. It saves the most time. I'm going to put the lids on these jars. just go ahead and wash this out. Alright, so when I've got it all nice and cleaned out, all I'm going to do, dry it off. I'm going to take my jars, they're nice and sealed now, and I'm going to set them in here, and it will fit 3, I've got an 8-quart Instant Pot, and it will fit 3 of these quarts jars in there. There's no rack or anything in the bottom of this, and it's going to go back into the Instant Pot. And all you're going to do is press yogurt and go till you get to 8 hours. And this is all this is going to do is maintain the temperature in that Instant Pot so that that yogurt has a really nice warm place to ferment. It's not cooking, that's why you don't need a rack or anything. Just being really, make sure that you actually have it on that 8 hours, not on the boil, because that would definitely break your jars and ruin your yogurt. So just put it on that 8 hours, and in 8 hours I will have good yogurt that can just be popped in the fridge, and we'll have yogurt all week long. Alright, thank you guys for watching my channel today. We made all sorts of different dairy products to set me up for the week. I'm going to get started on some muffins and some bagels here this afternoon, but really that didn't take a lot of time. I think I've been in the kitchen for a couple hours. Really a lot of it was hands-off time waiting for that yogurt to cool down. So really not too much hands-on time to set my family up for a bunch of different dairy products in our fridge throughout the week. It's just kind of about learning how to get your flow, keeping a clabber culture. I'm going to use the rest of this clabber in my muffin recipe as kind of a discard instead of milk. So just kind of figuring out how to keep a clabber culture is super helpful in being able to get a bunch of different dairy products started in your kitchen each week and really set you up for the week. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe down below. And also, if you haven't already, check out pre-sales for my new book. So I wrote a physical cheese making book that is going to teach you guys how to make all sorts of different cheeses, as well as set you up with equipment, troubleshooting, so much troubleshooting, all sorts of different things. So you can check out the link to pre-order that book down below. It's actually going to be printed in April, but we opened pre-orders last week. So that is something very exciting. I published through a publisher called Homestead Living, and they have just been absolutely amazing to work with. So thank you guys so much. Check out that link below, press subscribe, and come back next Monday because I post a new video here every single Monday. Thanks guys, bye!